Now you're going to learn how to create an e-cover using Paint.net. Now often when you're first starting out you don't have money to spend on graphics, and that's why we're going to use Paint.net to get our graphics together. They're fairly simple graphics, but they work good enough for your website. Once you get a little more money in your pocket, you might want to hire a professional to do it, but these work just fine when you're starting out. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the image that we were using for our e-cover that we downloaded. And this is just our main cover. Remember, it was the pasta thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that image. Just click the open button here. Find it on your computer. And then we'll bring in the pasta image. And there it is there. Now the first thing we want to do is go to image and then have a look at what size it is. So if we look at it here, it's 1600 by 1200. And what we want to do is first we're going to want to shrink that down to about 500. As long as you have the maintain aspect ratio clicked, it's going to keep the aspect ratio the same. So we'll click 800 and then it automatically adjusted the height to 600. Okay, so click OK. And although you didn't notice it here, it did actually shrink the image. Okay, so we've got that image the way we want it now. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put some text on the front of it, as it is our ebook. So what we will do is we will get some text. We can either create text using a tool to create animated text, or we can just use the font here and just use the font tool and the text tool, and then we can write our text right on here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tool called CoolText. It's a website, cooltext.com, and we're just going to create some animated text that we're going to put on the front here. So we'll go to cooltext.com, and then from here you can create all kinds of different types of images. So I'm just going to use the one called Outline. So we'll just click on the one we want to use here, and then all we have to do is put our text in here. So whatever you want to put. Okay, so we'll call it the all pasta diet. Then we can select a gradient if we want to use one. So you just go in here and see if there's something you want to use. You can try them out and see which ones work best for you. Okay, and then you have a start color and an end color. So we're going to start at, and you can click the little palette here, or you can enter the color right in there. So we're going to start at a fairly dark color here, dark slate gray, and then our end color we'll say is black. And then our outline color, now this is totally up to you. You just select the ones you want. Okay, our outline width, to make it a little wider if you want. Background color, don't worry about that. And then whether we want it, what format we want it in, we will make it a GIF with transparency. Okay, now we render the logo, and then it'll render it for you, and it'll show you what it looks like here. Okay, the all pasta diet. So there it is. Now you saw that there were a lot of different settings on this site, so you can pick all different types of fonts. But I'm going to go ahead, actually I'm going to make this a little smaller. I think it's a little too big. So we can go over here to text size, and we'll change that to 50, and we'll re-render it. Okay, then we'll download it and put it in our folder with our other images. So we have our title now. Now we'll go back to paint.net. Okay, then what we do is we go to layers and we do an import from file, and then we will bring in our cool text. Okay, and then we can just drag that where we want it. Okay, and once you're happy with that, you can deselect it. It's going to edit, deselect. And then you might want to put your name on it, or you might have some other text you want to put on here. You can go with cool text again, or you can just use the text here. So I'm going to go ahead and use text, and then you can pick your colors through the palette here, through the wheel, or you can key in the color code here if you know what it is. Lots of options for picking out the text. So let's go with a gray color like so. And then you can move this aside if it's in the way. And just down here, we'll just put by and your name. Okay, and as you can see, we're not seeing that too well. So what we might want to do is just change the color. And since we still have that selected, whatever we click down here is going to change to that color. So pick whatever you want. Let's go with black. Okay, and then we can set the font as well. So let's make it, and there's lots of them here. You just pick the ones you want. And then we can pick the size, something like that. Okay, once we're happy with that, we just click the Save button. And now we can either save it as a paint.net type of image, which isn't a bad idea. You can do that, and then you can come back in and you could actually edit this if you don't like it. Now we can also do a Save As, and we'll save it as a JPEG. JPEG will be a site image, and it's gonna, actually we want to change the name of it. Let's call it pasta, so we don't overwrite our original. Okay. Then we can change the quality here if we want. Just click OK and flatten. Alright, we now have our front cover. Now let's look at our image size again. We just click on resize, it shows us that it's 800 by 600. Actually, we want to probably change that. Let's change that down to 500. And you notice it already changed it to 375. So click OK, and there it is there. We'll save that. Okay, so what you want to do is start out with it 500 wide. It's the best size to use, keeping in mind that we can always change this as we go. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is make the spine. Now what I like to do is I like to pick a color out of the cover, or I like to sometimes do that, just to make the spine match. So what we will do is we can go to our color picker, and if we click on that, then we click somewhere in here that we want to match the color to, it will change our primary color here to be that color. Okay, so now what we want to do is do new, and then we want it to be 500 width, and actually we want it, let's cancel that. We want it to be basically the same size as this as far as the height is concerned. So let's just look at what the height is. I think it was 375, which it is, okay. So what we want to do is create a new one, and we want the height to be 375, and we want the width to be 200, say. Okay, that's a little large, so we can resize that. So let's make it 100. Still a little wide. Oh, get rid of the maintain aspect ratio there because we want the height to stay at 300. Okay, so there's what the spine is going to look like. So what we're going to want to do is make our spine this color. So we get the paint bucket, click on that while the primary color is selected, put it inside here, and it is now colored. Next thing we want to do is we want to rotate the image 90 degrees like this. This is so we can work with it easier. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some writing on the side. Now again, we could go to Cool Text and we can make a smaller image of what we just did. So if we go back to Cool Text and we edit this logo, and then this time we create it at 25 and render it. Okay, and then we can download it, save it, and we can just call it, just so we can differentiate it, Cool Text Side. Then we'll go back here and we will import a layer from File, and we'll do Cool Text Side. Like so. Put that where we want it. Then we'll deselect. And then all we want to do is go back to Image and rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now we will save this and we'll just call it Side. And we can save it as paint.net if we want to be able to edit it, and we can also save it as a JPEG. I'm just going to save it as a JPEG. Okay, so now we have our side and we have our cover. Now what we're going to want to do is create an image twice the width of our cover. So again, we'll look at our image and we'll see that it's 500 wide. So what we want to do is create an image 1000 by 375 as a new image to create our cover. We'll do a new, and then we'll do 1000, 375. Now what we want to do is import from File. We want to bring in our cover. Then we'll move it over all the way to the right. Let's move these out of the way for a minute. And then what we want to do is go into Layer, Rotate Zoom. And down here where it says Twist Radius, we want to change that to 45. Click OK. Okay, so you'll see that it has now tilted our cover. The next thing we want to do is do another layer. And we'll do import from File. We'll bring in the side. Okay, and grab a hold of it. Bring it up against here. Let's stretch this out. Okay, and now what we want to do is go back into the same thing, Layer, Rotate Zoom, and then this time, where it says Twist Angle, we want to do minus 180. Leave the twist radius at 45, click OK. Okay, we now have our ebook ready to go. Now the last thing we could do is add a drop shadow to it behind here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this first because we're going to have to come back to it because we have to actually install some functionality to paint.net for this to work. I should have actually done this before, but it doesn't matter. We can do it afterwards and then restart paint.net. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to call it cover. And I'm going to save it as a paint.net because we want to come back and be able to edit it. Okay, so now we got to go get the functionality we need from the paint.net site so that we can add the drop shadow. So in the resources document, it tells you where to get that. It's called paint.net effects. So we will go and we'll go to that website. Okay, and then just download it to your computer and unzip it. So we'll download it. Okay, and you'll have these files in here. So what we want to do is select all of the unzipped files here. And then what we want to do is we're going to have to add them into the program files directory under paint.net. So we go to my computer, go to your main drive, and then program files, find paint.net. Go inside paint.net, go into effects, and then copy those files into here. As you can see, I've already done that, but you would have to copy all of these files. Just select them all. If you hold down the control key and put your mouse over them, you can select them all. Then control key, hold it down and press C, and that will do a copy. And then just go and paste them in here. And then when you restart paint.net, all these functions will be in here. So we'll reopen up paint.net and import our project again. Open up our cover. Now what we want to do is go to Effects, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Okay, so what we can do is we can move the X and Y offsets. You'll see that, well, first of all, we better select a different color because right now we have the same color as the ebook. So what we're going to want to do probably is select black. And you can use the RGB values here. Or you can move the sliders up and down. Okay, so we're going to use black. And then we will set the X and Y axes here. Okay, so just pull that till you're happy with the way that looks. And then Y is kind of moves it up and down a little bit. Like so. Click OK when you're done. And there is our ebook cover. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is just go with the selection tool here and then just select outside of the ebook like so. So it's all inside there. So let's try that again here. Make sure you get right to the top here, right to the bottom. And then what we want to do is image and crop the selection. And there is our ebook cover. So now what we'll do is do a file. And we'll do a save it. Well, first we should save the paint.net. It's cover.pdn. So when we save this, it saves the PDN project so that we can change it if we want. Now all we have to do is we'll do a save as. And then we'll save it as a JPEG as well so that we can use it on our website. Click OK and flatten. And it's done. So now our eCover is done. If we were to open it up using our web browser, let's go here. There's our cover. We'll do an open with Firefox. And there's what our e-cover would look like on our website. So that's how you can create a decent e-cover. In the next video, we will go over how to create a matching header and a matching footer.